Hey, Slick Talkers, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And I know that if you love this show, you'll also love my morning show called Good Morning Hospitality with my co-hosts Michael Golden and Brandy Canali, as we spend 30 minutes every Monday morning to dive into the industry's top latest news and trending topics. So go check it out on wherever you find your podcasts at Good Morning Hospitality. And you can live stream with us on Monday mornings on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Now, I hope you enjoy this episode.
Also, the ability to earn goodwill with local businesses, to be able to say, hey, I'm recommending you, take a look at my guidebook, and having the guests kind of show the guidebook. Now you're really becoming part of the local community. And one thing that's great about the vacation rental industry is you're not just, focused on the downtown touristy overpriced areas, but you really are in local neighborhoods. And sometimes there's a tension with other neighbors about wanting a vacation rental there or not. And to show that you're doing good for the local economy and the local community, and you're hiring local cleaners, and you're recommending local businesses, that makes it a lot easier to fit in and be a successful business there.
Welcome to Slicktalk, the hospitality podcast where we discuss all things hospitality, hotels, and business. You can find us online at slicktalkthepodcast.com and on every podcast listening platform.
This podcast is brought to you by Hostfully. We make property management software and digital guidebooks that help vacation rental managers all over the world optimize and scale operations. We are grateful to be joining Will Slickers and the Slick podcast listeners to provide value to you, the vacation rental professional. At Hostfully, we're data geeks, and we love partnering with other companies in the vacation rental space to bring the most insightful content, analysis, and market reports. You can even see specific market reports about what amenities are important and how demand looks in your region. We also love to share best practices. To learn more about what you can do to improve your vacation rental business, visit our industry-leading blog at www.hostfully.com. There, you'll find resources that will help you understand how to take advantage of multi-channel distribution, dynamic pricing, automation, and more. Along with Will Slickers, we hope you consider us as your helpful guide in building your vacation rental business. Learn more at hostfully.com. That's hostfully.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and today we got the man, David Jacoby.
Oh, I'm not the myth and the legend like other folks. Thanks a lot, Will. Oh, Eric, I got to give Eric a call and tell him what happened here.
Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. Not the best way to start an episode, especially with a show sponsor. But thankfully, David's a very forgiving guy, and we like working together. So he's not too mad at me. My apologies, David. Now back to the episode. I use that one so much, I feel like it's not going to have its sting, but you're the man, because when it comes to experience and guidebooks and PMS, I think it's the way to go. Okay, you guys like that slick recovery? Yeah? Pretty good, right? Yeah, okay, I'm done. Last interruption, promise. David, my friend, thank you for being on the show. This has been in the works for a little bit for the audience members who probably don't follow on the social medias or whatever, but I just want to go into what Hostfully is. So David Jacoby is the president and co-founder of Hostfully. It's a property guidebook system for a virtual guidebook, as well as a property management system to help hosts and vacation rental owners really showcase their property, get direct bookings, and also connect on multiple platforms in order to grow their business. So David, let's jump in. What is Hostfully, other than what I just said?
Other than what you just said, you got to. You should be working with us, for us. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Will. And I am so thrilled that Hostfully is a sponsor of your podcast. So thank you for having us be a sponsor. We love what you're up to with all the great folks that you've already had on the podcast, with your Destination Air Award and everything you're doing for the industry. And we're honored and humbled that you will allow Hostfully to ride on your coattails.
Hey, It's a blessing and an honor to have you guys. So I'm pumped.
So here's to lots of fun stuff to come.
Yes.
So with Hostfully, we actually were trying to change the name in the industry from PMS to PMP, Property Management Platform, because let's
Ooh.
face it, who wants to be going around saying PMS all the
Yeah.
time when talking about an acronym for the industry?
Yeah.
So we are actually two separate platforms, as you mentioned, beautiful digital guidebook solution, as well as core property management software, property management platform, where we help you run your whole business. So everything from tip to tail of entering properties into our platform and getting them listed directly onto Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com and a whole bunch of other sites. We integrate with channel managers for further distribution. Your own website, we have kind of outside of the box website creator as well if you don't have your own website.
Which you guys just updated, right?
Which we are just updated, so it's
Yes.
beautiful. That's actually been one of, we'll talk more about this later. That's one of the
Yeah.
kind of COVID related changes that we've done, and there's really a much bigger focus on direct bookings now. But it's more than that. We help you automate all your emails. So right when a reservation is confirmed or 5 days before the guest arrives, we have an owner's portal where owners can log in and see how much money they've been making and see when their calendar is booked. A service provider portal so you can interact with cleaners. So everything to run your business tip to tail, whether you have a couple properties or you have over 500 properties. The good and bad part of our platform is we do run that gamut. We have clients of all sizes, so it is a fun challenge to our roadmap of what features we want to build for the smaller mid-sized one or the larger one. But we have gotten some pretty good praise about our platform being scalable. So if you are on the small to mid-side range and you're looking to go big, you only need one platform, and that's us. Also on the digital guidebook, so that's a whole separate thing. So we work with every property management platform on the guidebook side because it's a simple URL that you send to your guests, and it has all the information that the guest needs about check-in details and directions and house manual information and all the favorite local recommendations.
Yeah, and I think that's the key part for what we do in our industry. When it comes to hospitality, you're not just providing a place to sleep or to eat or wherever, but really, I think showing off your local community and the things that you love about, your town, or like my favorite coffee shop or my, favorite brewery, whatever. That's such an important part to highlight because your favorites are probably going to be your guest favorites. So why not have a beautiful digital guidebook that's super easy for them to use and find and always go back to again and again and again. Just makes sense.
Amen. Absolutely.
Amen.
You're the one person possibly that they know in that area that they know and trust, and they want to hear from you where they should be checking out. They don't want to have to try to figure it out on Yelp or TripAdvisor or stuff like that.
Yeah, this extra research that they don't need to do. It's just right there and done for them. I love it. Well, David, so let's get into, we know what Hostfully is now. Your story, getting into co-founding it, I think is very unique. We've had a lot of people on the show, get into this industry, usually in the similar, basic way of like, I had a property, Airbnb'd it, but you did a little extra when it came to the whole Airbnb game and getting into short-term rentals. So I really, really want to touch base on what did you do that was so extreme to make, the guidebooks, and then of course get into your journey.
Sure, you bet. Thanks for asking. It all started on a one-year sabbatical trip around the world with my wife. But to your point a second ago, it is fun being in the vacation rental industry and seeing people from all different backgrounds and how they've gotten into it. No one graduated with a degree in vacation rentals, right? Everyone's got some other degree and background and experience that they're bringing into the space, and that makes this really unique and fun to see that. So for myself, my wife and I, we about 10 years ago now, we took a one-year sabbatical and traveled around the world. We had our 1 year of fun before we're handcuffed with kids for the next 20 years. Not that this isn't fun, just a different kind of fun. And we went to 27 countries in 5 continents and stayed in 38 homes. Some were traditional vacation rentals. A lot were from like friends of friends of friends that you meet while you're traveling. And then also the website couchsurfing.org, which used to be a lot more popular than it is now. It's kind of gone downhill a little bit. Back in 2010, when Airbnb was just a couple years old, couchsurfing had a really big following then. And this, for those who don't know, it's essentially Airbnb without the financial transaction. It's literally locals who want to help travelers travel and want to meet people from other cultures, and they just open their doors and host you for free. So through the couchsurfing platform specifically, my wife and I stayed in people's homes in Lima, in Cairo, in Jerusalem, in Kigali, Rwanda, in Hanoi, Vietnam, and some real random places. And that's when I first realized the incredible influence that the host has on the guest's trip. Anything that the host told us to do went to the top of the priority list above Lonely Planet or TripAdvisor or Yelp or any of those other review sites. We got the inside scoop, right? We got the hidden gems. And then after that trip, we moved here to San Francisco into a single family home and renovated the basement, turned it into an in-law unit, primarily so my parents could come out from Connecticut to spend 3 months a year with their grandkids. They don't care about me anymore, just the grandkids. That's how it works.
Can I ask though about your sabbatical with that travel couch surfing platform? Did you have any scary, sketchy stories, like anything that just went wrong? You're like, nope, not doing it. Going to the next place.
Not at all.
Wow,
No,
okay.
it was amazing. We had there was 1.5 maybe. One was when we went to Cusco, Peru, which is like the launching pad for the Inca Trail. The first place that we interacted with beforehand, when we got there, the person suddenly wanted to charge us money. And that was kind of not cool. So that happened once. It was a bit of a bait and switch. But other than that, it's a very much a self-policing community, similar to Airbnb with the review system, but I think it was even that much more important with couchsurfing. And there were these levels of vouching where, like, if a lot of people vouched for you, then you had vouching powers and you can vouch for other people. And we were a couple too. It's not like I was a single woman traveling, so I think there was just safety in numbers in that regards. But other than that, the one other like kind of weird experience was a host in Europe, I won't say exactly where, he was super nice, met us at the train station at 6:30 in the morning from our overnight train, and took us to the grocery store to pick up some stuff, took us to a few other places, and he was just like hovering over our shoulders the whole time, like being very much like, can I help you? Can I help you? And it was like, no, I know how to find the fruit, thank you. And it was just like kind of awkward, but that was literally like the quote unquote worst, and that was a fine experience. So other than that, it was just amazing meeting locals who are so passionate about hosting travelers and showing off their favorite local places. They weren't getting paid for this. They did it because they just wanted to meet people from other cultures and connect, and it was an incredible experience. It's really what made our trip.
Awesome. Okay. I had to ask just because I was like, I don't know if I could do that today. Like if I could go travel just like and let random people let me in without, I don't know. It's just, I think it was a little bit different with that platform.
And I just also preface, it's not random. These are people who have lots of other reviews from other people that are part of the community. So it's not like,
so it's not like a first time.
It's not like hey, a weird Craigslist listing or just, you're on the street talking, asking people. There is that bit of a community feeling. So
it was a genuine hospitality group.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, cool.
I missed it. So, fast forwarding, after that trip, we moved to San Francisco, as I said, and created this in-law unit. And then, so my parents would come out 3 months a year, and the other 9 months we started renting it out on Airbnb. And that was such a great experience. We've had, hundreds of people in our home now. And I've been an Airbnb superhost for over 5 years now. And I realized firsthand, as many hosts do, the pain point of being in touch with guest after guest, both before their trip as well as while they're staying with me. They have one set of questions before their trip. They have another set of questions while they're staying with me. And like many hosts, I spent many hours one night making a real ugly looking Microsoft Word document guidebook and sharing that to my guests and banging my head against the wall thinking, there's got to be a better way to do this. So that's kind of the catalyst to Hostfully, my kind of scratching my own itch and thinking, why isn't there some, platform that would make it easy for me to make a beautiful guidebook? And at first I was thinking like a platform for me to make a print guidebook. And then it kind of evolved into, this should be digital as well, where you can send it out. And there's so many benefits of having it be digital and being able to send it out in advance. So, those beautiful 3-ring binders are great, but that's not making it easy to share check-in detail, directions and how to check in and that whole kind of part of the guest experience, which is, that first impression in a way. So if you're 100%. Just sending a really long email that no one reads or is kind of a little overwhelming, that's not the best first experience versus sending them a URL that's got easy directions, maybe has a map, maybe has pictures of where the key is hidden or where the lockbox or the entrance is, stuff like that. In addition to having, house details, house manual information, house rules, how to turn the TV on, how to use the laundry, have it being interactive where, again, unlike a manual, you can have links to YouTube videos on how to use the coffee machine or how to, use the jacuzzi and maintain that, stuff like that. And then finally, of course, all the local recommendations. So the recommendations are really just one part of the guidebook. So back to the story. So we focus on creating this platform for guidebooks. And because of my experience of being an Airbnb host, the original focus was on individual Airbnb hosts and having a free platform. And we would have like sponsored tours and activities and ground transportation and some stuff. And that's where we would make our money. And we realized we really needed to scale to make money on the commissions for that. And at the same time, we started getting interest from professional vacation rental managers saying, this is awesome. I want this for all 50 properties of mine, Tahoe. So we kind of did a mini pivot and focused on our back end and making it really a scalable enterprise B2B solution that makes it easy to manage 100 guidebooks. So you can make one recommendation and add it to all 50 guidebooks in South Lake Tahoe at once. Or take an existing guidebook and copy it and change the address and the Wi-Fi code, and you have a new guidebook in minutes. And then private labeling it. Lots of guests say, I booked an Airbnb, not I booked Joe's Vacation Rentals of Tahoe. So this is a great opportunity to really enhance your branding so that next year that guest is just going to want to book directly with you in one of your listings, even if it's not that same place. So we became this enterprise B2B product focused on guidebooks and realized, wow, there's this whole vacation rental industry beyond Airbnb and Airbnb hosts. So we started integrating with some property management softwares, one of them being a company called Orbi Rental at the time. And the CEO of Orbi Rental, now our CTO, Steph, he's here in San Francisco along with Margot, our CEO, and myself. And we formed a business relationship. We integrated our platforms and we would meet up for lunch and meet up for coffee and just kind of talk shop. And we really liked each other. And one thing led to another. It's kind of like dating, hey, why don't we take things more seriously? What do you mean by that? Sure. Yeah. And before you know it, we realized our skill sets are very complementary. He is an engineer, CEO, and Margot and I are business folks. So he was looking for a team. We were looking for an engineer. And our products are very complementary. Having, this guest communications side of things as well as core property management software. And what we see in the space is most property management platforms focus on getting the reservation, helping you get distribution, getting that reservation in, getting a direct booking, but they don't really focus on the guest experience. Some of them have a guest portal that maybe has like the address and some basic information, but not nearly the beautiful digital guidebook experience on the Hostfully guidebook side. So we see that as being one of our big differentiators, that we really are focused on helping you run your business tip to tail, and the guest experience is part of that. And just giving like two concrete examples of what the vision is of having these two platforms deeply integrated. One is when a guest is making their reservation and they are checking out, checking out in terms of making the reservation, not leaving their,
Yeah.
their rental. They can have the opportunity to buy some additional stuff like a mid-stay cleaning or an extended checkout or groceries pre-arrival, kind of like when you buy your plane ticket and they ask if you want a hotel or a rental car. So being able to offer those upsell items at the time the guest is making the reservation, and if they don't buy it, then having those same upsell items be in the digital guidebook that the guest is looking at before their trip or while they're in destination, and being able to buy it there as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, especially now in a post-COVID world where property managers are looking to increase their revenue, have more margin, because usually they're getting 20 to 30% of the rent. But if they can do a mid-stay cleaning or an extended checkout, oftentimes that's outside of the owner agreement, and they can get 100% of the profit of that. So being able to help them upsell items. So that's one example. And another example is with access entry with smart locks, which are getting more and more popular. A lot of property management softwares will integrate with a smart lock where a reservation gets made, a PIN code gets created, and then 5 days before the guest arrives, that gets emailed to the guest. We now take that one step further and bring that PIN code into the guidebook, and the whole guidebook gets emailed to the guest, and it's a secure guidebook that only that guest can access. And when they log in, or when they click on the link, they don't even need to log in to see the guidebook. It's got their PIN code, it's got their check-in date, all in the guidebook itself, not in the email. So that's some fun stuff we're doing, and it's been a fun ride so far. And that, I promise that'll be my longest answer of all your questions.
I was gonna say, I love the extensive like evolution of the idea, just like from guidebook, which is a great idea. I think like that's like your basic 101 as a new host, right? You get your property up to standard, you list it, but you gotta make a guidebook. You have to have house rules. You have to have like, my parents have been doing Airbnb for a while, and I've been helping them, but they have their little 3-ring binder, that has the reviews, and people have been writing notes, and in a a pre-COVID-19 world, I think that was great. Post, I think I'm already talking to them to get them switched to digital guidebooks, because it's just safer, cleaner, and they can also customize it a little bit more, and it doesn't get all dirty and all the other stuff. So, but the overall evolution of the idea from a Microsoft Word to a now, URL that they can click, and it's interactive, and not only making it interactive, but then making it a better profitability and like upsell tool for the host and manager. For the listeners, Stay Lux, my company, we're actually integrating with Hostfully at a full scale of PMP and guidebooks, and I think it's just something that's very, very important. Because like you said, it's growth. You can scale in this platform. You can scale it with everything that you do, and I think it just really comes down to the point of providing that guest experience to the T. Like, just every I is dotted, every T is crossed. So I think it's really just overall great evolution. Kind of a random question, but pre-COVID-19, what was your daily routine? And post-COVID-19, what's your daily routine?
At Hostfully, for Hostfully the business, now that things have settled in, not too different now from how it was before. There definitely was the in-between period of, I'd say, March to June, where things were a little crazy and all over the place, and both, focusing internally on our Hostfully team and making sure everyone is focused and knows what they're doing, while also making sure everyone is taking the time they need for their own mental health and to do what they need to do with their families and take care of themselves. So we actually were already an all remote team beforehand, so that didn't change. But interestingly, we did start having more kind of all hands meetings, and even just social happy hours, because we knew our remote team wasn't doing that elsewhere. So it's actually like helped our company culture in the long run of checking in and playing some online games together at 4:00 on Thursday. From a business perspective, we did see some dip in the guidebook revenue, which makes sense because some of our clients just didn't have guests anymore, so they didn't need to send anyone a guidebook, so they kind of paused their guidebooks. They made them inactive, and now we're slowly starting to see them become active again. On the core property management software side, that's core to anyone's business. So as long as they were still in business and trying to get reservations for November, they still needed our software to have them be listed on Airbnb and Vrbo and to just manage all their tasks. We also had a lot of prospects that we had spoken to over the years that said, "Whoa, David, I'd love to move on to your software, but I just don't have the time." And now all of a sudden they had some time, and this was kind of, in a weird way, I don't want to come across the wrong way, but it was an ideal time to migrate from one property management platform to another. For a few reasons. One, finally you have some time because you don't have a lot of guests that you're dealing with. But also, one of the most annoying parts of migrating is getting your reservations, your future reservations that are on your current software, moving them over. And there weren't some clients that have a lot of future reservations, so it was a little easier to make that migration. So we actually saw a lot of companies taking this time to reset and think about how should I have my tech stack for the future. And we got a bunch of new clients that have been wanting us for a while, so that was nice.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point, especially during this time of like COVID-19. Like my business partners and I, when everything kind of like, we lost a lot of reservations because Airbnb allowed full refund and all this other stuff, and we didn't have a software yet. We were about to, and then some things went south with their company, so obviously we didn't get into the software platform. But I think it was a good time for everyone to be like, okay, when things pick up, they're going to. We knew it would, right? But at this time, we're dead. Like, we can go on vacation and drink margaritas on the beach and not worry about it, or we can prep and get ready and, like you said, reset and really focus on how can we make sure we come out on top for when things do open up, whether it's staycations or international, anything like that, And so I think that's a good sign for the industry, people taking the time to train and to prepare. So another question I wanted to ask you was, what is one of the biggest things that you've learned during this time, during your time being in the industry as a traveler or as a, president and co-founder, that you've carried through the years?
Well, one thing I think, seeing all these property managers and getting a chance to understand their operations, is if you've seen the operations of one property manager, well, you've seen the operations of one property manager. Everyone manages their business differently. And the software that they use and the focus, whether it's having a really strong separate cleaning module or cleaning software for one company, whereas another one is just, they have one cleaner, and every time a reservation gets made, they send an email to that one cleaner, and it's like that simple and hands off. So the complexity of cleaning, or the complexity of their pricing, and whether they're using a dynamic pricing company, and whether they are really fine tuning and using all the levers of dynamic pricing. So everyone manages their business differently, and related to that, there's no one silver bullet. There's not one software or one way of running operations that is the answer across the board. You really need to see what works for you, for your properties, for your homeowners, for your guests, and figure out the best combination of tools. One interesting point at the VRMA conference, at a panel seems like a whole lifetime ago, last fall in New Orleans, someone was commenting about the Hyatt Hotel where we were at, and how they have over 20 different software to run their business. The concierge is using one software, the front desk staff is using another, the kitchen and room service is using one, the software to manage the TV, and there's over 20 different things that they're kind of combining and clunking together. And you're seeing that now in the vacation rental industry, and the emergence of not just property management software, but all these niche software that really does a deep dive, whether it's digital guidebooks, right? Or as I mentioned, cleaning, or dynamic pricing, or smart locks, marketing software, background check and insurance. So thinking that there's going to be one software that's going to do everything really well is just unrealistic. And you need to kind of do your research and see what works for you. And one of the things that we're focused on doing at Hostfully is really having an open API that allows us to integrate with other vendors, and all other vendor niche softwares are, welcome. Please reach out to me, and we'd love to work with you. And to really be that glue and build a whole ecosystem around it where people are using the best in class dynamic pricing and the best in class cleaning. And we're never really going to have this incredibly detailed, rich pricing module within Hostfully, because we don't want to compete with Price Labs and Beyond and Wheelhouse and the other tools out there, because they're great. So we'd rather just, if you can't beat them, join them. We'd rather integrate with them and really be that glue. And I think that's why we look at ourselves again as a platform, as a property management platform instead of software, because the ecosystem is amazing at how fast it's been growing and how many detailed niche software solutions are out there.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reason why us at Stay Lux, we're more inclined to join with Hostfully, just because I don't know. I look at it as I don't want to have 20 different account things to log into and have 20 different windows open on my web browser. I like the fact that you guys are integrating with a lot of stuff that we use already is just it's like such an ease. You don't have to worry about the 20 other accounts that you have and you're getting emails and other stuff through. So that's a super key importance. And it really showcases the vacation rental, I guess, not, I would say culture or mindset or just overall mission, and just the way that vacation rentals are. It's very community based, very ecosystem, share of network, share of share economy type deal. And so I think that's a huge hats off to you guys on that one. So now as a PMP company, what's some data and stats maybe that you guys have seen with COVID-19 on the everyday host, whether they're an individual property host or a multi-property host? If you have any insights,
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of reporting on this, and we've been partnering with some other companies in the space like Beyond Pricing and All the Rooms, and we put out some white papers and some blog articles. So I'd encourage everyone to go to our website, hostfully.com, and check out our blog and check out some other reports that we've done on this. The high level trends, I think now a few months into it, people are kind of seeing this across the board is obviously local more than flying. So places like Tahoe are still doing great, and they would get a combination of people who would fly to go skiing and stuff, as well as locals from San Francisco and Reno. And if you can drive there, they're still doing great, and they had a combination. They're getting a combination of like 30 plus stays of people who want to shelter in place, right? They're just getting out of Dodge or getting out of San Francisco, and they're doing a long-term stay up in wine country or in Tahoe, as well as just some really short weekend stays for people who are still going on vacation. The flying destinations are having a harder time recovering. So Hawaii, for example, they are still not doing that well. It's taking a longer time for them to recover. So that's one thing I'd say. Also, June was a record-breaking month in terms of stats and data across the board. In terms of reservations being made on different platforms, we saw it internally, like more reservations and number of nights, both dollar amount and number of nights on Airbnb and on Vrbo for our property managers than any other month before. So what will be interesting to see now is if June was a record-breaking month, specifically because everyone who normally would have booked in March, April, and May, they waited, and they all booked in June, as well as the June folks. And if July is going to go back down, so I think I think there will be a dip again in terms of new reservations for July, just because there was all that pent up demand. So it'll be curious in a few more months to see if there's still these record-breaking numbers or if it levels off. I think it's going to level off a little. I think there's a little bit of almost fake over enthusiasm of like, wow, everybody, look how great things are. Like bookings are better than ever. And it's really because things are just so bad in April and May. So we'll see how
Yeah.
July and August go. But as a property manager, like what this data means and how you think about maybe your limited marketing spend, what we're seeing from some of our clients and just anecdotal conversations is the geography of marketing, where you now know if you are in, again, let's use Tahoe as the example, or wine country. You used to get guests from all over the country and all over the world. So your limited marketing dollars you would spend on some high level terms, vacation rental Tahoe, and maybe try to get your site to come up on that. But now you need to fine tune your marketing and really focus on driving destinations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, focus specifically on targeting San Francisco and Reno and other driving distance locations if you're coming to Tahoe. So that's some tweaks and some, a real focus that property managers can make of understanding how the demographics have changed of their visitors and being able to specifically pinpoint and target those demographics.
Yeah. I was also going to say like you said, the record-breaking month. Like you said, let's not get too enthusiastic about it, because let's be mindful that, certain states and counties and whatever can close again. We can have this whatever happened in April, we can have it happen all over again and be back to square one. So I think it's exciting to see, but as we say in the military, trust but verify. You can't do that obviously with this, but the same concept, be excited, but be ready for, that possible big influx of cancellations and the overall, growth of revenue that you just got to be kind of snatched away within a quick decision of either a state or a county or whatever. So
yeah, and related to that, one more comment too. What we're seeing in the data, and we'll see how long this trends, is there's a much higher uptick in last minute bookings. So whether it's because of the uncertainty of what's going on, or whether it's just because there's been a lot of pent up demand and everyone's been waiting and now they're finally doing it. So we'll see if this continues. But again, what that means for property managers is really being able to streamline your operations and account for that last minute guest. If you get a booking for today for a guest who's coming later today, you need things automated. You need that email to go out to the guest with the check-in instructions, that's got a link to the guidebook with clear directions and check-in instructions and a PIN code that's automatically created. And you need to be able to be totally hands-off on that and have everything automated to accommodate for those last-minute guests.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So with that, all the statistics and kind of the conversation where we're at, what do you think this is going to help, or do for the industry post COVID-19? Do you think we're going to be, I guess, like a future prediction of, is this going to be the new way things operate, or do you think it's going to, forever be changed? Like, some CEOs in the industry will say that it will never be the same and all this other stuff. I'm kind of curious to see what because you guys have the data at your hand, it's for whoever's on Hostfully, you have that insight. So I'm kind of curious to what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, your guess, anyone's guess is as good as mine in terms of like in the future, forever. Like this could be a 1 year, a 3 year thing. Once there's a vaccine, like when will travel ever get back to pre-COVID? Will that ever happen? And I think I feel like, of course, at some point, travel is going to be as large, if not larger than it was before this, once the world feels safe. But what this is doing is changing the minds of travelers in terms of where they want to stay. And, vacation rentals before COVID were already growing fairly significantly and taking up revenue share compared to hotels. And that trend is only going to continue. So relative to your kind of larger chain hotels, I can speak to that, where vacation rentals are going to continue to take an even bigger chunk of that industry, because guests are thinking now, oh, what's important to me? Having some place where I'm not pushing the same elevator button and standing in an elevator with other people. I want to be out, in nature, or even even if when things continue and you are, in an urban area, it's still, you want to have your own, your own place, and you maybe want to have your own kitchen to do some cooking, and all the luxuries and amenities and benefits of vacation rentals now are even that much more important compared to a hotel for people who care about safety and cleanliness.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and definitely like the contactless. I can cook a nice dinner, a nice steak dinner by myself without having another hand involved, not only on the cooking side, but then the transfer of the cooking to the plate and the table and all this other stuff. Granted, is going to be missed, and I guarantee when things do, like you said, are people are feeling safe, definitely going to go back out to restaurants and a little bit of hotels, just depending on price point, location, and other vacation stuff. But I think it really comes down to, like you said, the overall like privacy and benefit of having a whole hotel, aka like a whole house to yourself. It's going to be definitely a huge perk, in my opinion.
And I think too, I think if Verbo can get their act together on the branding side of things, they can really benefit on this versus Airbnb. Obviously, Airbnb has plenty of private listings, but a lot of people still think of Airbnb as just like a room in someone's home kind of thing. And the nature of vacations, I think, is going to change, where more people are going to group up with another family or two, and get that Tahoe cabin, or get that big house where they can hang out in kind of a secluded place with a few friends of theirs and chill. And some of those bigger vacation rentals will really benefit from that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Like yours, Will.
Yeah, seriously, our castle, go rent it right now. It's free. So not free, but it's open.
It's available.
It's available. Yeah, no, that's actually one thing we've been seeing with the staycation market, because we're right outside of Seattle. So I think with a lot of people just want to get out of the city and to also really invite that couple of friends or families or couples or whatever, and kind of just have that secluded but safe area is definitely a trend we've been seeing too. So we've talked a little bit about, in the beginning, you said, the book direct movement. So what does the book direct movement mean to you guys at Hostfully? How are you guys? Yeah, every time I stutter on the show, I always have to catch myself. But so how have you guys at Hostfully, been and getting on board with that? I know you guys always have. That's everything. Every platform, I think, wants their hosts or their managers or whoever that use it to get that direct revenue. I think it's kind of a key importance. But I know right now this is a big fluctuation. It's a big talk in the industry. I think it's becoming more known here in the States than now. It wasn't. I think it's more popular definitely in other countries. But now the States are, I think, starting to pick it up. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts on that are.
Absolutely. I'd say there's kind of two parts to how distribution and getting your reservations are changing now because of COVID. The first one is unrelated actually to Book Direct, but it's more of, I mean, it is related a little, it's more of a broader distribution strategy. So instead of having all your eggs in one basket of Airbnb or Airbnb and Vrbo, it's really, an all of the above approach of Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com and maybe TripAdvisor. We must see lots of reservations from TripAdvisor, and I hear that section's up for sale within TripAdvisor. But all the other niche sites too. So like working with a channel manager like NextPax or Rentals United and getting listed on the the Airbnb Adria Gates, the Airbnb of the Adriatic Sea, or Mr. B&B or Kid & Co or different niche sites like that. And being on the meta search sites like Home2Go and Holido, and really getting your property out there. So that's one thing. And again, that's a benefit of using any property management platform, let alone Hostfully, of being able to not have all your eggs in one basket. So then very much related to that is the importance of your own website and getting direct bookings and having a simple goal of each year having more direct bookings than the year before. and slowly building up that as a percentage of your overall distribution strategy. So you have less eggs in any other baskets, and all the eggs are slowly more and more in your own basket. So, we've been doing some things at Hostfully, and we're just seeing this in general. So we've always had an automatic out-of-the-box website, and we're giving that a major facelift. We prioritized that once COVID started setting in, and then other features to help support you get direct bookings, like having coupon codes, for example, and adding that feature, as well as making it easy to integrate with your own site. So, we really encourage, we have an easy out-of-the-box solution for clients, but we really encourage our clients to have their own website that they are doing their own marketing on and SEO on, and that they own, and then integrating, having different search widgets and availability widgets, or doing a deeper integration through our API. So there's a bunch of ways that we really support our clients, and we've been making a big focus on this, especially lately, to have their own website, do their own marketing on that, and being able to integrate with their property management platform.
Yeah. And to go back to your first comment about the more eggs and other baskets is really, it's huge. I think we all saw that back in April when Airbnb let all cancellation refunds out the window, 100%. I think that woke up a lot of owners and property managers. Like, I for sure have always been kind of preaching, because I come from the hotel world, so I'm always wanting direct bookings. I'm always wanting to pay less commissions every month. But for a lot of the hosts, that's how they get on. That's how they get introduced. And I think this is now going to change the mindset of my Airbnb to my property on Airbnb, which is key, because that whole mindset of my Airbnb, you're giving full power and control. They don't clean your toilets. They don't clean, the sheets, and they don't make the beds. You do. You or your cleaning company do. That's your property. So I think changing that mindset from my Airbnb or my Vrbo to my property on these platforms, and then now that opens up a big brand loyalty campaign and project. So creating a voice, creating a brand, creating something that really showcases your style, like a guidebook, like that itself is a great way to overall open that door, I think, in a sense. And so I think it's going to be a pretty big shift, but I'm curious to see how long it takes for, I think, a lot of hosts to finally, because this is a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of, I didn't know what API was until I first did my first integration with, I think it was iHotelier or whatever, and all this other stuff. And I was like, holy crap, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of stuff I don't know. Like how this, I knew what a booking engine was, I knew what this was, and blah, 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 but I didn't know how they all sync together. So I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes.
Yeah, I cringe every time I see this. It's amazing how many property managers, usually they're just getting started, so they're on the smaller side of having a couple to 10 or 15 properties, that they'll actually have their own Squarespace or WordPress website, and they'll have a link for, check out our properties, and that actually links to their Airbnb listing. And it's like, no, you're putting all this energy on your website, on building your SEO, and now you're losing these direct bookings, and you're losing just some low-hanging revenue commissions right there by sending them directly over to Airbnb. And then what happens? So here's another takeaway. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch, what you mentioned before about Airbnb and all the cancellations, and everyone, of course, talked about that with the refund policy, how they changed it. But now they're actually taking away the masked email address of the guest that they used to give you. So of course they never gave you the actual email address of the guest, but they would give you something, something funny at guest.airbnb.com, so you can still email them. And that's important for property managers who have a multi-channel approach, and they just want to streamline their operations and email every guest. But now they actually just made an announcement that they're taking that email away, and you can only do the Airbnb messaging with them. You can't send emails. So they're really, there's this ongoing battle, tension, struggle between who owns the guest. Whose guest is it? Is it Airbnb's guest, or as a property manager, is it your guest? And Airbnb is just one of many, distribution platforms for you. And the more you can get that direct email address, after that reservation is made, put it into your property management platform, put it into your email marketing platform if it's not integrated with that, and then be able to market to them directly to get repeat bookings. It's important for you to just look at every platform as a marketing distribution tool, but it's really your guest. You're having that relationship with that guest, and you want to maintain an ongoing relationship with them.
Exactly. And we always say, like, it's a book indirect book. Like, you want them to book no matter what. Like, you just want them to occupy the property. But it is your job now as a host, property manager, whatever, to get them to rebook with you directly. If you book on Airbnb, I want your experience to be so awesome that you're going to have, Stay Lux or whatever on the top of your brand when you come back to Seattle or wherever. Like, you want that idea. So I think this is where the coolest part about our industry, I think, is, that we're so innovative and creative. People who are very entrepreneurial on the host, vacation rental side, hotels too. I've seen some pretty badass hotels that really do some cool stuff. But I think this is your time to get creative with your marketing and getting just that, like you said in the beginning of the episode, which I loved, is the power of first impressions. So not only is the first impression online and with your website and, social medias, but the moment they pull up, like, I am guilty of this. Anytime I show up to a hotel or a vacation rental, I'm judging the crap out of it the moment I'm pulling into the driveway. Like, I'm literally looking at every feature and how it looked online and what my idea and perception was there to what it is now. Like, this is the time where you get to really enhance and create that first impression to be so incredible that they're no longer thinking, oh, I'm staying at an Airbnb. They're like, no, I'm staying at blah, blah, blah with blah, blah, blah. Like, that is the power of first impressions and guest experience. So I think this is a good time for the hosts and managers to really start practicing that art and skill of storytelling and first impressions and just overall great experience.
Amen to that. And that first impression is even before the guest steps right into the vacation rental or the hotel, right? It's when they're on that website, as you said, and when they make that reservation, and what kind of confirmation email are they getting? What kind of advanced welcome email are they getting? What information is being sent to them about, hey, if you want to book Alcatraz during the summer, it's really busy, so make sure to do it now. Those inside tips on making those reservations, or for a local restaurant if you want to make a reservation in advance. So it starts well before the guest checks in, not to mention that experience of checking in and making sure that's seamless.
Yes, it's all part of the destination air concept, my friend. It's, the anticipation of the experience. It's the anticipation that you want to share it with everybody. You want to share it with your family, your guests, whoever. And so I think for just a little side note, I'm just super excited that we're having this conversation. But the destination air concepts, you guys are involved. The Hostfully team has been involved in the award. So I want to explain why this is important and why I think that all the topics that you and I have talked about really do go into this, because the destination air is, quote unquote, a person who's wired to create remarkable experiences that are anticipated and shared. And guidebooks, PMP, so they all kind of go in hand. Like, that is as a job as a destination air, quote unquote, to really provide that experience and that value. And when you add more value, which I think tools and resources like guidebooks, or even just getting those reports that you guys create, like the trends and the market, I see all these stuff that you guys are doing, not just you, but like other, companies in the space. I think that's when it comes really important to remember, providing value is key. And so I don't know, I'm kind of just rambling, but I just think it's, I'm excited that you guys are a part of that, but then also implementing it to all the hosts through you guys' platform is just incredible.
And I awesome. Thank you. I agree. And I think there's little things too that you don't think about on top of that really makes the importance of a guidebook to the destination air in every one of us, where there's, the obvious things that we talked about of being able to provide great local recommendations. And that's really, the big one of standing out and making sure your guest has this great experience by telling them about all the cool things that no one else knows about. But there's also other little things that you might not think about at first glance, but the comment of looking more professional. Again, right off the bat, if a reservation is made and you can tell the guests, I'll send you more details as your arrival gets closer, but like in the meantime, here's my guidebook that already basically has everything. And it's this beautiful looking digital guidebook when guests are, used to that outdated 3-ring binder. Like that's making a great first impression right away. Also ongoing guest services, guest communication, where like if a guest, every property manager has had this experience where it's like 11:30 at night and the guest is like reaching out to them, urgent, 911, I can't turn the TV on, help me. To be able to have a link to the specific section in the digital guidebook that's got how-to instructions and even a video on how to turn that TV on, that makes your job a lot easier, and it just makes for a more professional, easier experience for the guests as well, to be able to reference that. And also the ability to like earn goodwill with local businesses, to be able to say, hey, I'm recommending you, like take a look at my guidebook, and having the guests kind of show the guidebook. Now you're really becoming part of the local community. And one thing that's great about the vacation rental industry is you're not just, focused on the downtown touristy overpriced areas, but you really are in local neighborhoods. And sometimes there's a tension with other neighbors about wanting a vacation rental there or not. And to show that you're doing good for the local economy and the local community, and you're hiring local cleaners, and you're recommending local businesses, that makes it a lot easier to like fit in and be a successful business there.
Yeah, I think it really, you become an ambassador really of your neighborhood, of your community. I always kind of like in the beginning with my journey, like helping my parents with theirs, like we have a coffee roaster, very well known, called Camino Island Coffee Roasters. They're very green and oriented, like to self-sufficient, like for the farmers out in Brazil or Africa, or you got like all these places. And it like, they're well known in our community, but guests that come in for a conference or a family, reunion, don't know that, but you get to show their story and then give that like inside scoop. I think is always fun for people to like, I got to meet so-and-so, or I get to know this. And then also, another point that you were talking about, the first impression not only is key, but I think, a lot of time, like our normal lives in general, not just vacation rentals, but in the industry as well, I think we forget, like we don't there's a certain, we don't emphasize on like moments. We don't like, there are so many unique moments that we can capture and like do extra things that even are just like the tiniest of small, like fraction of anything, but they make the hugest difference. And I think a lot of times, like just getting to know your guests through not only having that like the automated side of things, but then once all that is out of the way, it's just, what are you coming into town for? What's important to you for your trip? Like, this is all great stuff. This is what we can provide for you, but what are you here for specifically? And having that kind of like human to human connection, so important. I think we forget it. Like I don't know. I just think about my first time, like being a front desk agent, having a guest saying it was a bad situation. Like he was visiting his daughter who was in hospice. Like it wasn't like an ideal, place to be, right? Mentally, emotionally, but just being able to like, hey, I'm here if you need it. Like I will do whatever I can to make sure your stay is as, seamless and, stress-free as possible. Because during that time, who wants to be dealing with, not only you're losing someone significant, but then you have to deal with the hotel that isn't flexible on certain policies or whatever, just because they don't know what you're in town for. I don't know. I just think it's that human to human connection, like taking advantage of moments, not just on first impressions, is really key.
You hit the nail on the head, and this is something important that we tell our property managers about, having automated software and emails and a seamless check-in experience and a beautiful digital guidebook is not supposed to replace that personal interaction, but rather is supposed to enhance that personal interaction. So I don't know if you've ever gotten the deer in headlights look from your guests where they ask you like, hey, where's a good place for dinner? And you start explaining to them where it is, and all of a sudden their eyes glaze over because they're not from the area. And it's easy. It's just go down the street and make a right. That's where it is. But as you start giving directions, they start to freak out. And now you can say, don't worry, all those details are in the guidebook. So in 2 days from now, when you want to go to that restaurant or you want to go on that hike, you can look it up and let's just talk. Let me tell you why you want to eat there, or let me tell you the cool things about that park where you should go walk around, versus getting bogged down in the details on exactly the directions and the hours of operation. And oftentimes what we'll see our clients doing is after the guest checks in and they've had like a conversation with the property manager, again, because our guidebook platform, it's a responsive design web application. It's essentially like a website with URLs. Each section is its own URL. So they'll send the URL to that specific curated day in the mission, or a curated hike that they should take, or restaurant, and they'll just text it or email it to them. And it really is a great follow-up and enhancement to the conversation, not a replacement for it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good word, enhancement of the human-to-human connection. I like that. Well, David, man, I've enjoyed this conversation a ton. I think this is just, this is the way, I don't know. This is like the coolest job to have. I just can't be like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Oh, just kidding. I'm just going to be a podcast host and talk about this stuff all day. It's just great. So thank you for being on the show. Do you have any shameless shout outs, plugs, or any final thoughts about everything we've talked about for the audience of Slicktalk?
So just once again, I'm so thrilled to be partnering with you. Thank you for having us as a sponsor. We're going to do lots of fun things to come. For anyone who's interested in checking Hostfully out, please go to hostfully.com. It's that easy, HOSTFULLY. On our guidebook platform, one guidebook is free, so you got nothing to lose to start kicking the tires. If you're a larger property manager, we don't start charging you until you actually go live with the guidebook. So you can start making, take your time, take a few months making 50 beautiful guidebooks. And then once they go live is when you start paying. So please check us out. Check us out on Twitter at Hostfully. And let me know if you have any questions. You can contact me directly, david@hostfully.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Heck yeah. And I'll link everything in the show notes for the episode. So any Slick Talkers on Apple Podcasts or the website direct, everything will be linked. So definitely check it out. Use Slick Talk. I think it's Slick Talk 20. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Use Slick Talk 20 to get 20% off. Make sure you do that, because not only is it already great price, but you even get a better price. So use that code and it will be worth it, my friends.
We'll double check that. Slick Talk 20, we'll make sure that's a code. And I think it's 2 free months of our premium subscription software. So use that code. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for that reminder. And you can use us 2 months for free.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, David, for being on the show. We will be in in contact very soon. Appreciate you, all that you're doing. Give, warm welcome and hello to everybody on the team for me.
You bet. And congratulations on the Destination Air Awards as well. Very excited to see the winners of that.
Yes. And if you are a winner, so I'll just kind of throw that in there right now. If you're for anybody nominated in the Destination Air Award, if you get 1st through 5th place, there's a nice little prize, not only for 1st place winners to go to Cannes, France, sponsored by IPRAC, but then also for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th to get the experience of guidebooks into a grander scale of things. So I'm very excited for that as well. So again, you're the best. We'll talk soon. And hostfully yours, Will Slickers and David Jacoby.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for listening. We love your support and want to provide the best we can to all our listeners. So please find us online, social media, and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast.
He's kind of like the Joe Rogan of the hospitality industry right now.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Slick Talk. I post every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you ever feel like you're going to miss an episode, just know every Wednesday, 8 a.m., you're going to get some more good content. And I just want to give an update for the Destination Air Award. There was over 40 amazing nominations. I had to close off the nominations for July 31st, and now we're in the judging phase, and on August 10th, I will be announcing the finalists, the top 5, the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place winners for the Destination Air Award. That has also been sponsored by Hostfully and 13 other industry partners. So guys, stay tuned for next week, where I will not only share them on all the social medias and my LinkedIn and everything like that, but I'll also make a big announcement on the podcast, which next week's guest will be a returning guest, Chris Mon from IPRAC will be joining us. And of course, Chris Mon, for people who have listened to his episode back in, I think, January or February, is the founder of AES Events, which is a short-term rental accommodation company out in France, and then also the founder of IPRAC, which is International Property Approval Certification. And what they do is really just certify that every short-term rental property is legal and is not fraudulent and is a legitimate business in order to protect not only our guests and the reputation of short-term rentals and hospitality. So great guy, great company, big fan. They also sponsored the first place award for the Destination Air Award. So the first place prize is a week in Cannes, France, along with a limo pickup, complimentary dinner and drinks at Morrison's Bar, which is an amazing bar owned by an Irish destinationaire out in Cannes, France, and just overall great first place prize. So couldn't have asked for a better sponsor for the first year award. Now you guys need to check out, see who wins, and then stay tuned for more, because anyone who is nominated and won is going to have another big surprise in place. Something I've been working on in the background, and I'm very excited. So stay tuned to Slick Talk and all things coming from the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. What's up, everybody? If you've gotten this far into the episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast, then you are amazing, and thank you so much for tuning in. We want to send you 2 places really quickly. If you can, check out the show notes and click the hospitality.fm link. Check out all of our other shows on the podcast network. And don't forget, if you have someone that you want to hear on the podcast, then fill out the guest fill out form so that way we can get them on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy another episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast.